This is Patrick Russell. I'm interviewing Richard Hutchison for the first time. This interview is taking place on August the 3rd, 2021 in Clinton, Oklahoma. This interview is being conducted by the Making History Project. How are you doing, Richard?
I'm fine, how are you?
Great. Can you first tell me what's your date of birth?
December 5th, 1973.
And where were you born?
San Pablo, California, Brookside Hospital.
All right, and tell me a little bit about your hometown. What is it like?
I don't really remember much about San Pablo, California. I consider Stillwater, Oklahoma my hometown.
All right, so
it's a college town, Oklahoma State University. It's a great town. I love it. I kind of consider Tulsa, Oklahoma my hometown though, because that's where I grew up, went to high school and all that. So I guess Tulsa probably would have been the better answer, but my home of record as far as where I was when I joined the military would be Stillwater. When I leave here, I plan on moving to Tulsa though. So
okay, but Tulsa is
I overcomplicated the answer, I'm sorry.
But Tulsa is where you went to school?
Yes, sir.
That's where you were as a kid?
Yeah.
All right, and tell me a little bit about Tulsa.
It has grown up a lot since I lived there. I've been back to visit a few times. Sand Springs used to be a very small suburb of Tulsa. Now it is a very large suburb of Tulsa. Now you really can't tell where Sand Springs starts and Tulsa stops. Back then, pretty much if you grew up in Sand Springs, you grew up in Tulsa. So when people ask me where I grew up, I just say Tulsa. Physical address, Sand Springs, Oklahoma. Which meant I spent a lot of time in Tulsa. I went to a Sand Springs school. I really hope I'm not messing you up here. Most people don't know where Sand Springs is, but Tulsa is where I plan on going here in a couple months when I leave here. And that is what I kind of consider a hometown, because at the time there wasn't anything in Sand Springs to do. But yes, technically where I went to high school and junior high is Sand Springs, Oklahoma.
All right, and how big is your family when you're growing up?
It was basically just me and my mom and my dad and my sister. That's the short answer.
Okay, and what did your parents do?
My dad was a truck driver, and my mom worked for the Sand Springs Public Schools. She was the secretary to the superintendent. And
as a kid, what did you like to do?
I played the trumpet. I was very into music. I played it all the way through junior high and high school. If you had told me in 10th or 11th grade that I was going to enlist in the military right after college, I probably would have laughed at you. Either at the college part or the military part, either one would have sounded ridiculous to me at the time. And kind of did a lot of growing up my senior year in high school, and decided college was the next best move for me. And after I graduated from college, almost immediately enlisted in the military. And while I was in the military, I went to night school and got 2 master's degrees. I figured while the military was paying for it, why stop at 1? Why not get 2? So got 2 and got out in 2002. I've worked just about every job since then you can imagine.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's take it a little bit back. In high school, did you do any sports or have any hobbies besides the trumpet?
No. Huh? I worked. I come from what would have been considered then, I guess, to be considered a lower to middle income Notice I say lower to middle income, not lower to middle class, lower to middle income. My parents, I thought they were horrible back then. We said grace at dinner. We ate as a family, not in front of the TV. Realizing now that is a traditional family, and I'm lucky that's how I was raised. I don't get along with them now at all, but growing up, I consider myself lucky to have been raised that way. My kids are astonished that people actually eat meals that way back in the old days. But I would say that I had a normal childhood. Only a normal child, by comparison to today's childhoods, it would probably seem abnormal. We all went to church together every Sunday morning. We sat down and had meals and said grace, and that's not the way families go anymore. But no, I worked at a grocery store, and I played in the band. I didn't really have a good temperament for sports. I've always been kind of a big guy. I was recruited to play sports, but I didn't always play well with others. Military definitely weeded that out of me. I get along great with the guys here. There's guys from all branches, all education levels, races, creeds, colors, and I love them all. I have a very deep respect for veterans regardless of their branch, and so this facility, a veterans facility, is a very good fit.
The Clinton Veterans Center.
Okay.
And we're going to get into that in a little bit, because I want to learn how you got here. But before we do that,
Okay.
So you're in high school, you're working, playing in the band. You seem like you were a little bit unruly. Okay. But you went to college. All right, so where'd you go?
Oklahoma State University.
All right, and what did you take up?
Journalism. Always had a passion for writing.
Okay. And you went 4 years there?
I went on the Works 3 Jobs program, so it took me 5.
Okay. All right, and you graduated with a degree in journalism?
Yes, sir.
All right, and so 5 years later, so now you're about 23. And then what do you do?
Then I start looking for work. And as it turns out, bachelor's degrees in Stillwater, Oklahoma are, as you can imagine, dime a dozen. 6 months out of college, and I'm still working as a bouncer in a strip bar. Just so happens there is an Army recruiter that lives next door to my parents. And I actually knocked on his door. I said, Jimmy, 6 months after college, these guys are calling me up about these college loans. My dad served, my grandfather served, his dad served. Tell me what you can do. I just happened to hit him at the exact time he needed to put in one more college graduate to make his E7. So not only did the military pay off all of my loans to OSU, I got a $12,000 cash bonus as well as duty station of choice. I picked Fort Sill. Of any duty station I could have gone to, I picked Fort Sill. Because I'm an Oklahoma. I love Oklahoma. I didn't want to leave Oklahoma. And I don't regret that decision, quite frankly. While I was at Fort Sill, got my education, I did a lot of correspondence course points, maxed out all my promotion points, blew out my knee, realized even though I went as an E4, I even went to the E5 board, aced it. And Spent $900 on new gear, went to PLDC, was there for 8 hours, and they said, hey, your profile says you can't run. If you can't run, you can't complete this course. So I go back to my unit, said, hey, here's my orders saying I can't go to PLDC. Can't go to PLDC, I can't be promoted. Can't be promoted, I can't be retained. Send me on my way. So I got out 1 month after my enlistment contract would have expired because I had to be medically boarded. Again, I'd already been medically boarded once, and I said, no, I signed a 4-year contract. I'm going to honor that 4-year contract. So I got out.
So what year did you go in?
98.
All right, so 1998. Primarily a financial motivation?
Yes.
All right.
And a bit of a family tradition as well.
Yes. And so you go to basic training. How was that for you?
It was good. I think being my age gave me kind of an edge. Not so much my age, more as my maturity and responsibility level. 5 years in college, working as a bouncer, sitting at a desk, drinking a little heavily. I was not in the physical shape I needed to be in. The younger guys were in great physical shape, but they weren't real good at the studying part. So we bonded over that. We helped each other. They pushed me to the physical side, and we used to joke about they would get me up early to run, I would keep them up late to study. And you know, it's a brotherhood, and some of the best friends you'll ever have. The drill sergeants, no complaints. They did their jobs. You know, yeah, they're not supposed to be nice. They're not supposed to be your buddies. But they never crossed the line. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. I'm not saying it was fun, but it was certainly different. And nothing like the stories that I hear from these guys here about drill sergeants slamming them up against the walls, kicking them. You know, they've done away with all that. I don't know if that's to the benefit of the military or not, but nevertheless, I formed a great bond with a lot of guys. And like I said, I helped them with the mental aspect, they helped me with the physical aspect. So it became mutually beneficial.
Where was your basic?
Fort Sill.
Okay.
I went to a OSIT unit, which is, I did basic and AIT right there at Fort Sill. Never even changed beds. Now some of the guys were there, they did basic and then they went to Bragg or Benning or someplace like that to do their AIT. Nope. I went into artillery. I did my basic and my AIT and my permanent duty station.
So you never left Fort Sill?
Never left.
Wow. And
other than one training exercise in Fort Riley, Kansas, and that was awful.
so how long was basic?
18 weeks. Basic and AIT were 18 weeks combined.
Okay. And at what point did your unruly nature get cured by the military?
I'd say the first couple hours. No, actually, college kind of, you know, I mean, I'm paying my own bills. I'm responsible for getting myself to class. College took a lot of that out of me. Yeah, I still worked as a bouncer, but that was a job. I didn't drink at work. Met a lot of interesting people that way. It's not Roadhouse. You know, it's not as interesting as people think. It's a lot of standing around observing. because of my size. Then I was considered a big guy. By today's standard, like I got a brother-in-law that's 6'11". By today's standards, I'm not really considered all that big. Back then, I was a giant. And it just sort of suited me. I had sort of an intimidating look about me, when in all actuality, I'm kind of a cut up. I joke around with the guys all the time here. I just sort of look the part. And I don't sleep a lot. I never have, still don't. So, I didn't have a hard time working until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and getting up and going to class. Wasn't an issue. And I may have already gone to work because I also worked in between classes at a Chinese food place. I worked a lunch shift from 11 to 1 in between classes. Hard work is nothing new to me. At one time I had 3 jobs.
So now what's your expertise? What are you training to do?
I haven't done anything but volunteer work since.
No, I'm talking about in the military. In the military.
Oh, what was I training to do?
Yes.
I was in artillery.
Okay. So specifically what? What are you working on?
I'm on a M105 howitzer.
And that's a mobile?
Yes.
All right. And what are you doing with it?
I'm what they call the number 1 man. That is the guy who, you've got your driver. Your number 1 man is the poor schmuck strong that picks the round up, loads it in, closes the breech, and when the section chief tells you to, fires it. Try to give you a quick snapshot. As you can tell, I get sidetracked easily and I'm a little long-winded. Feel free to center me if you need to. Okay, there's the driver. During a fire mission, the driver revs the engine up so the turret can move where it needs to. The number 1 man, he is the one that loads the round, puts in the propellant, closes the breech, hooks the lanyard up. The number 1 man does most of the work. Then you've got your chief. He sits up here on the stool. He looks at the computer screen. He reads the coordinates coming down from the TOC, the Tactical Operations Center. Then you got the gunner. The gunner doesn't do hardly anything at all except stand behind the chief and make sure that he verifies the coordinates. So there's a double redundancy. Gunner says fire, chief says fire. Number 1 man hooks the lanyard up, pops the lanyard, primer ignites the powder throws the round. That's all that works. So the number 1 man is really the only one that does anything difficult. The driver mashes a pedal, the chief sits in a chair, the gunner pats him on the shoulder and says verified.
How heavy are these rounds?
About 250 pounds a piece.
And this is a 155?
Mm-hmm.
155 shot.
And we would launch anywhere from 10 to 12 in 3 minutes.
But you're the big guy.
I'm the big guy. And I think that has a lot to do with why I have a bad back to this day, because I couldn't stand straight up in this thing. I was too tall to stand straight up. So I am hunched over at all times. Not by a lot, but enough to where I'm kind of stooped. That wears on your back after a while.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't trade it. I don't regret it at all. Once you get past the initial nervousness of the first time I did it, I'll be honest, I was terrified. I was just like, because I don't want to look stupid, and I don't want stuff to start exploding everywhere. And my chief was just like, Hutch, man, just loosen up. This is fun. It's fun. Just be cool. You're not going to do anything wrong. they simplify things so much. If you didn't learn that in basic, you got to learn it now. They make this stuff so simple. Now, that's not exactly what he said or the way he said it, but I'm editing it out because there's a camera on me. And he said, just have fun with it. And so we did. We would get into a competition with the other sections, how quickly we could get rid of all of our rounds.
And how many rounds do you have in that howitzer?
How many rounds do we actually have in it?
Yeah, to carry.
Let's see. It would only hold 6 rounds securely. We were only allowed to travel with 6 rounds because we could only secure 6 rounds. We had, oh my gosh, I can't remember what that thing was called. There was another vehicle that traveled with the artillery piece. I honestly cannot believe I forgot what it's called. It's an ammo carrier. It has a name. I can't believe I'm forgetting it. That's going to bug me. But all it does is carry rounds. It doesn't fire a thing. It is just one huge spare magazine.
And is there one of those to each one of the howitzers?
It has a belt that comes out of the back of it. One person in the back. It's a 2-man deal. One to drive, and one person in the back to pull the rounds out of the bustle rack, set them on the conveyor belt, and I don't think that's what it was called. And the conveyor belt takes it out the back door, and you back them up. Like the howitzer would be facing this way, and the ammo carrier would be facing out this way. So they would butt up, and this conveyor belt would go out the back of the ammo carrier into the back of the howitzer. So the round almost came in right to the door. Ideally. A lot of things break down. But it was when things went smoothly, it went smoothly. When they didn't, you just improvised. And a lot of times that improvisation involved a lot of heavy lifting. I was never, nor do I see myself ever being in that good a shape again.
And so what was a typical day like for you while being the number one?
In the field or in garrison?
Either or.
Because in garrison, we were bored. A combat unit that's not in combat doesn't do much. We would do PMCS on Mondays, primary maintenance, and I'm getting old, I'm forgetting the acronyms. But anyway, that's where you make sure that the vehicle, everything operates properly. I'm sure you know what it is. I don't want to bore you with it, but we're sweeping the gun lines. God, I'm having a hard time even recalling. I know that's what we did on Mondays, even if the vehicles hadn't moved.
How often were your field days?
I want to say every couple of months, but even that seems too infrequent. Because, I mean, you think about it, one vehicle, of course, doesn't just move on its own. And an entire battalion of people, I mean, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of fuel and munitions and they're already kind of expected to know what they're doing. Some guys liked the field. A lot of the guys with families didn't. I didn't have kids to leave behind, and I was only married the last few months of my enlistment, so I loved going to the field. To me, it was like camping with big guns. And one of the things that I thought was really most interesting is that if there was a field exercise scheduled and the weather didn't cooperate, we didn't go. Well, what if we have to go to war somewhere where it rains? You're going to call off the war? It's too hot. Most of our wars are fought in the desert now, but it's too hot to go train to fight in the heat. I mean, and I know it's for medical reasons, and why put people's lives at risk for training? I'm probably a little jaded because of the stories that I hear day in and day out from these men of what training was like, about what combat was like, and I have the utmost respect for them. Anybody that knows me from this facility will tell you that I've always had a deep respect for veterans. And for me, the problems that people complain about in today's modern Army compared to the problems that these men here had to overcome is a lot like whining. So I don't really do it. Looking back on it now, after hearing what these men had to go through, I'm like, that was a camping trip with explosives. That's all that was. So, but like I said, I come from a long line of veterans. I was raised to respect veterans. I'm a patriot through to the bone. And it was definitely an experience that I don't regret. Just another chapter, I guess.
And how long were you in?
A little over 4 years.
Okay. And so from what year to what year again?
98 to 2002.
Okay. And did you ever deploy overseas?
No. My unit did. I did not. I was already injured when they went.
And they were deploying to what?
They went, I think they went, I know they went to Iraq. I don't know. I was already being medically boarded when they deployed. I was on staff duty 24 on, 24 off. That was my big contribution.
And how did you get hurt?
My knees. My knees blew out. Climbing up and down in one of the artillery pieces.
I mean, was there a specific
The
incident?
track broke. One of the tracks broke. The thing went over sideways. I was in it. All those rounds we were talking about earlier went bouncing around everywhere. It messed up my back, both my knees.
And what, you tore ligaments?
That's what they told me, but I think it would hurt a lot more. I have no cartilage. From what the x-rays said, they said that I have almost no cartilage in my knees. So I noticed during real humid weather it bothers me a lot. And I will. I hate to admit it because it's part of it's part of the reason that I'm in here is that I have some memory problems. Because a lot of times, matter of fact, the first month I was here, people thought I was a new employee. Because to look at me, you can't really tell that, I'm young by comparison. Certainly haven't missed any meals or anything. I'm not missing any limbs. The majority of the reason that I am in this facility for the time being is that my memory gets screwed up. I can remember things. I could name off in order every dog that I've ever had, but I may not be able to tell you what I ate for breakfast. So you can imagine trying to recall details from years ago. Some things are difficult, some things are not. Some things I did that I don't remember doing, and some things I didn't do that for some reason I might think I did.
Is this more of a short-term memory problem?
It is more. It is typically more short-term. It's weird. I don't really know how to explain it. This is not what your documentary is about. I'm sorry. What I'm saying is, if you look back on this and there's some weird inconsistencies, it isn't deliberate. Most of the time people look at me and they talk to me and they go, why are you even in this facility? And mine is more of memory issues.
How old are you now?
47.
Okay.
And my being here has a long and grueling court battle with my parents over my money. That's something we don't even need to get into.
So how did this develop, your short-term memory problem? Is it related to a specific incident in your military career, or what happened?
There's a lot of different theories. I don't, they've done MRIs and CAT scans and things like that. The doctors have never really been able to present a concrete, the brain is, of course, a very tricky thing. There does, this is ironic, if I recall, there is some damage done to the memory section of my brain. A lot of it they attribute to years of heavy alcohol abuse. They and I have very different definitions of what constitutes alcohol abuse. But
would this be before, during, or after your military?
Yes.
All? All of them. Any period more so than others?
When I got out of the military. Didn't have a whole lot of time to do it to excess while I was in the military. It's difficult to kill a half a gallon of vodka and get up and run 10 miles. So I didn't even attempt it. After I got out of the military, I didn't adjust to civilian life like I thought I would. To be honest with you, I got out kind of, I got 2 master's degrees and a bachelor's degree. I'm going to walk into a 6-figure job, no problem. Military service on my record, veterans preference, any job I want. Guess what? There's a million other schmucks out there with just as much education as I have, and they're all looking for work. 6 months out of college, or 6 months out of the military, 3 college degrees, and I took a job as a sales manager at Rent-A-Center. And it's not that I thought I was too good to work. I worked as a garbage man for the city of Stillwater with those same 3 college degrees. Kept my family fed. Having a family is what really settled me down, really centered me. And, but I can't, I don't really have a sob story. I've made a lot of mistakes, and those are my own, and I own them. I don't blame anybody else. Joining the military was definitely not one of those mistakes. I am a very proud veteran, and I'm proud to know these guys here. They may bicker like an old married couple sometimes, but any man that would do what these guys have done for their country, they have my respect.
And your master's degrees, what did you get them in?
Human Resources Development and Business Management.
So you get out of the military in 2002. You were injured before deployment. So you got medically discharged. All right. And were you intending to keep on staying in the military but for that discharge?
I was still kind of on the fence. I mean, I was still working towards a promotion. So I think somewhere in my mind the idea, and not only was I working toward a promotion, but I was also talking to a re-enlistment coordinator or whatever they're called, because of my education level and because I was very good in the military. I didn't have a problem following orders. I'm third generation military and very proud of that fact. So you give me an order and that's what I do, no problem. They were very interested in me re-enlisting, but because of the physical limitations, promotions were obviously going to be, we're going to come slow, hence the PLDC and all that stuff. But I was really thinking about re-enlisting for Schofield Barracks in Hawaii because I love the ocean. I've always wanted to go to Hawaii, and I've heard it's beautiful. It's expensive to live there, as I've been told. But I've got a cousin that lives there. He's got a charter fishing service, owns a couple of rent houses, and I thought, that'd be beautiful. But that's of my top regrets, not at least pushing myself and trying to do that. Not just saying, hey, you know what, I'll reclass for Hawaii and I'll reclass to a different MOS. Because I was doing, after my first medical board, and I said, no, I want to stay in. I signed a 4-year contract. I want to serve 4 years. They put me to work in the PAC office because I had an education. So for my last year, I didn't actually serve on the gun line. I was in an artillery unit, but I did all the NCOERs and awards, and I was a pencil pusher. And I was very good at it. Nobody really gave me any crap about it because that's the guy everybody always wants favors from. Hey, this NCOER has got to be in 2 hours and I'm not done with it. Well, let's see, I have to have it for 10 days. Or I can go ahead and fix it and take it up now. Oh, hey man, Hutch, you're the man. So, but I was a lot more organized and clear-headed then than I am now.
Okay. So.
But I could have reclassed to a 75 hotel, which is what I was doing in the PAC office, and gone to Hawaii. And there's a lot of times I regret not doing that.
So it seems like you wanted to stay in, but things were not working out physically.
No. And arrogance, to be completely forthcoming. I thought through college, not arrogance as in I thought the work was beneath me. To me, there's no greater job in the world. But I get young, money hungry. I thought 3 college degrees, I'll be making 6 figures in 6 months. No. You got to know the right people to get those kind of jobs. And quite frankly, before I was forced to come here, I was working, doing volunteer work. I had 3 different volunteer jobs, and that was more fulfilling than anything I've ever done, besides the military.
And what were you volunteering for?
Well, I volunteered at the food bank in Stillwater. I volunteered at the homeless shelter in Stillwater, and I volunteered at the Senior Citizens Center in Stillwater. Started out with just one, and as much as I hate to be this forthcoming, this is just how I am. My drinking got really bad. When the VA said, hey, you're 100% disabled because of your memory problems and because of your back and because of your legs, we are literally going to pay you to stay home. boredom is my worst enemy, because when I'm bored, I drink. So I found myself going to the bar at 11 o'clock in the morning, as soon as the bar opened. And I'm like, no, I can already see where this path is going. So I started volunteering at the Senior Citizen Center, playing checkers with them, listening to the same stories repeatedly. I've always gotten along with elderly people. That's why I get along with these guys. Well, they could only use volunteers for a certain amount of time. Elderly people nap a lot. I can attest to that from being here. So, a couple hours a day, I was still finding plenty of time to make it to the bar. So, well, the food pantry down there on 10th Street, they've got to need help. I mean, they put out a lot of food for a lot of people. So I'll go down there. Invariably, the first thing everyone always asks me is, where's your community service sheet? Every time. I'm not here to do community service, I'm just here to volunteer. Really? Yeah. Well, we need you to stack this and stock that and do that and that. Okay. No problem. So that was one of those volunteer jobs that was either feast or famine, because they only actually do it once a month. But they need people to inventory the donations, take it in, throw out the rotten stuff. And somehow in the middle of all that, I love animals, always been an animal lover. So somehow in the middle of all that, I managed to spend about 10 hours a week walking dogs at the SPCA, because they've got them all up in those cages. So I would go up there and Kelly would just say, hey, start down there, walk as many of them as you can until you get tired. It gave me something to do, and it was good exercise. Helped me with my drinking, helped me with all the idle time, and kept me doing something kind of fun and productive.
And then, at what point do you notice the memory problems?
I guess I've noticed it for a long time. See, I don't consider it a problem. I call it a memory problem, but it is very, very manageable to me. We're talking about, have you ever misplaced your keys? Sure, everybody does. Little things like that. And I'm self-aware enough to know that, like, at some point after this is over, on a normal day, not during a quarantine, I'll go back to my room, I'll look at the rec calendar, and I'll set alarms in my phone. Okay, we're playing bingo at 1:30 in the auditorium, so I'll set an alarm in my phone, 1:20 bingo. Won't put auditorium, we always play bingo in the auditorium. So it's not a matter of, and every cell phone since the flip phones have reminders, they have alarms. So for me, it's not a matter of, I will tell you right now, I don't need to be here. My parents went behind my back and got guardianship because they're friends with the judge in Payne County. I'm perfectly capable of living on my own, and more than financially. I'm court ordered here because my parents are friends with the judge. That's why I'm here. That will be over next month. But I can very much see myself volunteering here, because it's a great facility. I wish they'd quit quarantining it for COVID, but other than that, it's not the newest. It's I think probably the oldest one in the state, and I've seen 5 out of the 7, I believe. The only one I haven't seen is Talablaw, and this is definitely the oldest, I believe. But there's a lot of good people that work here, a lot of good guys that stay here, and to me, that's what makes the facility. And I know that's not what you came here to talk about, but I just had to throw that in.
Well, it seems like you have a knack for making good out of quote-unquote bad.
Well, you have to keep in mind I have 3 kids that don't live anywhere near here. And I have missed a lot of milestones because of being forced to live here and because of this quarantine. I can dwell on that until I have ulcers and gray hair. As you can see, I've already lost a good deal of it. Well, had you seen me years ago, you would know I've lost a great deal of it. But I try not to let it affect my attitude. These people in this facility have done nothing wrong to me. Why take that anger out on them? I direct my anger where it goes. And it is not at these people here. I have a lot of love and respect for these folks.
And so, what's next for you?
Tulsa. I have, for the last year now, been in contact with the director of the downtown Tulsa YMCA. One thing that probably would have been a lot more germane to your story than any of the other blah 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 that I've wandered off onto is that I'm very good at helping veterans get disability benefits. Prior to coming here, I helped a whole lot of guys in Stillwater, a lot of whom, I admit, I met them in bars. But they would talk about, can't get this done with this VA lawyer, and I'm a lawyer, not at all. But, you know, the VA won't do this for me, this for me, this for me. Applying for VA benefits, since it's gone online, is fairly easy. Set up a My Healthy Vet account, and you go from there. But a lot of these older guys don't know how to work computers. And I would tell them, hey, look, here's my address. I live a mile that way. I've got a computer, I've got internet. You bring your DD-214, you come to my house. Most of them would bring a case of beer because they knew me. And I said, I will do this. Get your benefits started. From there, we'll see what disability benefits you're eligible for. Get your medical records. I said I can do it all from my living room. I was shocked at how many people continue to complain about not getting help from the VA, but wouldn't take the 2 hours that it would take just to come over in a comfortable setting with a friend. Even after I had already helped a couple of them who got their benefits started and come to the bar singing my praises. Hutch, your drinks are all on me. Hey, you need to talk to him. Hutch, he knows how to do this stuff. I've got my paperwork right here. Look, Hutch did that. Hey, Hutch did it. And talk. All right, I'll be over there tomorrow at 1 o'clock rolls around. 2 o'clock rolls around. Nothing. It's like, I don't want to sit and listen to how the VA has failed you if you are not even going to take the effort of someone who asks for nothing, who can get those benefits started, and you won't even make that step. I don't want to hear you gripe about it. It's not the VA's fault, it's your fault. So quit complaining about the VA. And that's what I did. Anyways, to your original question, as I said, I wandered. They have an empty office, a desk, and a computer. There is a large population of homeless veterans in the downtown Tulsa area. Probably more than any place in the state. And they're not going to come ask for help. So, a volunteer veterans rep That's what that office is being reserved for. That's where I'm going to go. I'll get an apartment or a condo or someplace nearby. I don't drive. Haven't had a license since 2009. I'll walk to the office, to the Y. I'll do my physical therapy. And I'll go in my office. And then I'll go out and find them. I'll go dig them out of boxes. I'll go walk down the alleys. I mean, big guy. I'm not afraid to walk down dark alleys. And get them in there, get them showered, get them some clothes, set them down in front of the computer. You want help or don't you? If you don't want help, are you... Obviously, I'm not going to go dragging people in off the streets until I find out first, hey, are you a veteran? You get veterans benefits. No, probably not. You wouldn't be out here if you did. That's it. That is my goal.
Well, that sounds like a very noble goal.
I mean, I make plenty of money from my, well, for one thing, because I'm 90 plus 10, I live here for free. And it aggravates me every day that I'm forced to live here against my will, not by the facility, but by my guardians who had nothing to do with me for 30 years until I had money. That's a whole different story. That these guys are sleeping in back alleys and eating out of garbage cans. And I don't even, not only do I not want to be here, I don't need to be here. I'm perfectly capable of living on my own. Go downtown Oklahoma City. You could probably go downtown into Clinton and find a veteran eating out of a dumpster. Give him my bed, he can have it. They're people, and I'm tired of seeing them being treated like commodities or pieces of garbage.
Well, Richard, I think you found your purpose.
Yep. Now if I can just keep my stupid parents out of my business long enough to go do it.
Well, is there anything that I didn't ask that you would like to add? You can think of.
No, I think my sidetracking has probably taken up enough of your time. I tend to ramble and go off on other tangents, and I apologize for that.
Oh no, by all
Some
means.
people would say I'm not a big talker, but once you pull the cord on the mower, sometimes it's hard to shut it off. And it's definitely hard to keep it on a straight line every once in a while, but I think what you're doing is great. It's unfortunate that it takes a war to make people realize how important veterans are in this country. So, if I may say so, I commend you on what you're doing. I think it's fantastic.
Well, Richard, it's been awesome to sit with you.
Thank you.
And I'm honored that you were able to tell me your story and that you found your purpose and you have a goal. And so far you've met every goal, so I don't think that this new goal of yours will be any different. I think you will achieve that as well.
I think I will.
All right, so thank you for today and thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you.